expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Entercom Radio, its sponsors, or affiliates.
Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. Boy, if you could see us on Facebook Live, we have a jam-packed studio this morning. We got Harry Glanz over to my right.
Morning, everybody.
We brought in from Capital Mortgage, Alex Nafusi and John Cole. Hey, gentlemen.
Hi, buddy.
Dynamic duo.
The dynamic duo.
You guys, combined experience, 38 years in the mortgage
We
business.
just compete for that top trophy every year.
It's not a competition.
Yes, it is.
Here we go.
But we do have our special guest.
It's because you're taller doesn't mean you know it's not a competition.
Real estate attorneys, local guys from the community. It's so great to have you guys. Johnny Hamoud, Ali Kusan. Hey, you guys, welcome to our show. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having us. Good morning, guys.
All right, now, if anyone out there is listening, you have real estate topics coming up in your life. You're looking to purchase a home. You've got a situation where you might enter into a land contract. You need real estate professionals involved in your life now at the beginning of the transaction, Harry, rather than later.
Listen, everybody knows that I love attorneys. I mean, some people shy away from attorneys. I love talking to attorneys, interacting, doing business with. Great analytical minds. I love talking to them. And these guys are absolutely the cream of the crop. Met them, had lunch with them, full of energy, young guys. It doesn't hurt when you're sports-oriented, family-oriented like they are. We love talking to these guys. And people have to realize that when you're entering into a real estate transaction, we talk about it every week on this show, that you need a team behind you. You need your realtor. You need your lender. You need your accountant. You need your financial person. You need an attorney to go ahead and look over these documents because, gentlemen, Johnny, these are legal documents. Stuff can happen.
Right. Yeah. What we see a lot is, someone getting a purchase agreement, something presented by their agent. They sign it, right? They trust their agent.
They're very happy. They just want the house, right?
They're excited. Yeah. They're looking to get the home and move on with life, and it's an awesome event. But like you said, these are legal binding terms, right? You need to know what to expect. That's our job. We like to explain in layman's terms what you're actually signing, what contingencies are there to protect you.
Yeah, and a lot of times the agents don't even know what's going on with the contract.
Right.
I mean, they're just like, here, sign here. Like last week you were a flight attendant. Today you were a realtor. I mean,
well, we like getting into that, Alex. But here's the thing: I think that you hit the nail on the head with the word. It's a contract. There are as legal binding terms, and they'll go over it. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on the radio. But there's specific performance. There are dates. There are contingencies. There are conditions. There are things that need to be met, right?
Exactly. So in any contract, both sides have duties and obligations, right, to make this thing work. Whether the buyer or the seller in a transaction, we see some people default on those duties sometimes. Some people fulfill them, with contingencies. But we like to advise beforehand, earlier than later,
right,
so we avoid those.
So we want to get a little deeper now. We want to talk about it. There are things in the contract that are, like all contracts, there are major points of concern or could be points of contention, but there are minor things. Let's talk about the minor first and then the major. The minor there are specific dates in there, but the dates are if somebody says they want to close on the 1st of the month, they end up closing on the 30th of the month. It's no big, the 30th before the 1st, no big deal. If they want to close on the 1st and they end up closing on the 3rd,
whatever,
they want to close on the 2nd or 3rd. I mean, Johnny, Ali, come on, that's not a real big deal, right? That's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal, right? I mean, back up. Everything in a purchase transaction, in a real estate transaction, has to be in writing, right? So we never want to rely on a verbal or representation. Yeah, well, don't worry, we'll close later. Those are minor things. We should still get them in writing saying, yeah, we agree to move this closing date. But I agree. Those are minor.
I love him. He's looking at me when I say they're minor. He's an attorney. When anything's in writing, everybody out there, nothing's is minor. But yeah. I like it. So this is the difference, Ali, when we're talking, and this is what we like to bring out in the show every single week. These are real things. Lay people like us, we're just mortgage guys. We happen to be on the radio, but we're just mortgage guys. We bring you in because you're the experts. It's about you. And Harvey, we like to say it all the time. People think that these things are minor. I term it, and they correct it. And that's why they have to be part of your team, because we're just doing our thing every day. So we miss a date. No big deal, right? Well, you're saying, Harry, it's in writing. You got to meet that date.
Yeah, but it depends why you missed that date, too. Maybe your client didn't send you documents, because they were on some sabbatical.
I don't think that matters.
No, Ali and Johnny
I know it doesn't
don't
matter.
care.
I know they don't care. I'm just explaining for simplicity's sake. Sometimes it's not always on the lender.
And that's why probably Ali and Johnny, they'll say to their client, hey, listen, really, guys, don't, and John hates when I say this, don't die on this hill over this. This isn't the big deal. The big deal is, are we going to close? Are you going to get your money? Did everybody live up to the terms of the agreement? And are we going to close? Those are the big things.
That's the important stuff for sure.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to bring out to you, Ali, I think you were going to jump in on that too, is, especially in today's market, there's a lot of competitive bids. People are trying to get their bid out in front of everyone else's, and they're willing to maybe waive some things or not waive some things. I think really now it's even more important to even consider hiring an attorney just to double check a few of those, some of the language that's on the purchase agreement.
Absolutely. And to backtrack a little bit regarding timing, it's not uncommon to have a time is of the essence clause in these purchase agreements. And like Johnny was saying, there's law in Michigan, mainly the statute of frauds, which requires that real estate purchase agreements and the like be in writing. So to have a time is of the essence clause and to consider a date or a closing date not a big deal, it's actually the opposite. It can be the opposite depending on your
I love it. That's why we've got these guys in here.
I don't even know why I brought these guys on. Why do we bring these guys on?
I love it. Because people have to know these things.
I know.
This is serious business. All right, this is serious. When people buy a house, yeah, it's exciting. It's emotional. It should be fun. But there are things in there. And talk about specific performance for a second.
Yeah, we actually have a pretty good real world example. I can I'll let Ali talk about it. A case we were just involved in litigation where a seller tried to back out after a signed contract. We represented the buyer, and Ali was pretty intimately involved in that, so he can discuss that condo sale.
It was a condo sale. We represented the purchaser in this transaction. We had a signed agreement. Both sides signed it. The buyer wanted to back out. We don't know why at first. Presumably it was because he got a better offer later on.
You mean the seller wanted to back out.
The seller wanted to back out, presumably because he had a better offer from somebody else. We didn't find out ultimately because although we did file litigation, it went to court. We didn't get far into discovery because they realized this got serious and they're going to have to follow through with this.
Right.
Now, we took it to circuit court. Circuit courts are courts of equity, and they can enforce a person to actually do something. They can force the sale of that property.
Sure.
That's what we ultimately did.
That's so sketchy people do that.
Yeah, and it touches to Harvey's
That's
point
just
too.
not cool.
In today's market, there's a lot of competitive bids coming over asking price. You guys see it every day.
Yeah.
And
so probably, tough word in the legal industry, probably the buyer heard that they could sell. I'm sorry, the seller heard that they could have another buyer at a higher
someone came
price.
in exactly
And said, hey, listen, we'll pay you more money. And then the guy didn't want to perform on the initial contract.
Absolutely.
So you guys stepped in.
So sketch.
And that's the way it rolls. But, those are things, and, those aren't real common in residential real estate. Maybe it happens more in commercial. But in residential, usually when you have the two parties, certain things come up. Are they going to take the refrigerator, all those kind of things. But usually when somebody enters into a contract, it goes all the way to closing and things don't happen. Usually what we're arguing about on our end as a lender are timing issues. When is somebody going to take occupancy in terms of from a closing date, if somebody wants to stay there 30, 60, 90, 120 days, or they're going to move out upon the closing. And also, if there is a hard date in there, say somebody wants to close on the 30th, and say somebody wants to get in there before, well, they don't have to allow them to close before because it says the 30th.
Right.
Now, what happens sometimes, as Alex said and John said, and Harvey's going to say, is that if some of the parties don't allow access to the property or documents are hard to come by, and it elongates the process, and now you have to go maybe a week over. What happens in a situation when you're representing the seller and the buyer calls you up, the buyer's representation, or the buyer's realtor says, hey, listen, we got to push the closing back a couple days, 3 days. How do you guys feel about that?
It happens. Like we said, a lot of these things have to be amended in writing, right, which happens a lot. Sometimes it comes with a concession, okay? For me to extend this date a couple weeks or a month, we need some more deposit money. We need money that we're going to lose on rent, whatever it may be.
Right. You need to know the totality of the circumstances. Right. Why do we need another week?
Right.
And if you know the totality, Ali, then you might say, here, I'm not a lawyer. Don't put this one isn't a big deal. Yeah, give them the week. Now, if you feel something's going on and somebody's trying to, again, I say elongate the process, you're going to say, we need some concessions.
Right. it's rare that a buyer is going to walk away from or a seller is going to walk away from a deal if a buyer needs another week.
You got it.
They're both excited to make that transaction
My
happen.
man, that's what I was getting to. Okay, that's exactly right. So, Alex, in our vernacular, maybe not a big deal.
Not a big deal. We'll get it done. They're all going to close.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
All right, we're up against our first quick little break here. When we come back, we got tons to share with you. Call in the show, 248-539-9797. If you're buying a house, we want to hear from you.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke for Capital Mortgage Funding. We do loans everywhere. In Southfield, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak, in Groseal, in Detroit, in Canton, in Northville. No matter where you live, we want to do your mortgage too. That's Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
All right, welcome back to the show. 9:19 if you're just joining us. Pretty day out there. Happy St. Patty's Day if you're just tuning in. It's going to get up to about, what do they say, about 45 degrees today in sunny.
40-something. It's got 47.
In the studio today.
This is a great day, though, to get out there and look for a house. If you don't have crazy plans, or maybe they're going to kick in a little bit later with the Michigan State game, get out there and call your real estate agent. Get that approval letter from Capital Mortgage Funding. That's right. We're there all day today at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage bank. You're going to save a lot of money. Get a real strong approval letter that's recognized by all the local agents here in the area, and that way they'll know that. And it's good, a sense of confidence that they're going to be able to present the offer knowing that they have a local lender and things will go really smooth for you. That's the key. As we were talking this morning, there's a lot of opportunity out there with the built-in equity. Definitely great times to still refinance your house. Derek, we've seen so many, again, you guys are always all busy in the office, refinancing our clients out of those 30-year mortgages. We've seen so many families drop to the 15-year. And even, I did some calculations the other day. I gave a client a 25-year and moved him forward. Just bought the house a couple of years ago. Yeah. And I showed him a quick figure, an amortization chart. If he was able to send an extra $150 a month on his loan amount, he was going to pay off the house in 14 years. So again,
totally cuts their term down.
Even if you take
one extra payment
a year, or again, feel yourself. If you're already maxing out your 401k, do you want to put that money?
Feel yourself.
Well, you got to sit down. You got to feel it out with your financial advisor.
What do they say on a 30-year? If you make one extra payment per year,
6.5, 7 years.
Yeah, it turns into a 23-year loan at that point.
Right. Great opportunities out there always to save money. Also, it's your life, so decide how you want to do it. You have to have shelter over your head, and where are you going to live at the end of the day? If obviously, if you're paying a landlord, well, that landlord is savvy enough to understand that home ownership is a great way to diversify his portfolio, and that this is a winner for him. So definitely, if you feel like
don't be knocking landlords, man.
Hey, I know, but if you feel like
I got a lot of tenants out there.
Some of them probably could become homeowners, Alex. Yeah,
they should. Yeah, I mean, they definitely can. And I think one of the cool things is that I do for a lot of people that rent from me is that when their lease is up, I sit down with them and say, hey, let's get you in a house, man. I mean, there's always someone that needs to rent, and to put someone on the right track and get them into a house and make them a homeowner is a great way to go.
Yeah, there's also those people out there that want to buy, don't know that they can buy, and don't know how much they're qualified for or what they're qualified for. Ryan and I, we just started working with a client. He told me, because I've been talking to him for about a year, I said, it's time to look to buy. It's time to look to buy. There's going to be more inventory coming out there soon. He goes, well, I don't have 20%. I said, dude, you don't need
such
20%.
a misconception, man.
Donate to 97.1 The Ticket Student Heart Check Program, and you might just save a life. Your donation will pay for a healthy heart check for a student whose family otherwise couldn't afford it. Go to 971theticket.com and search Student Heart Check.
The names you trust. The teams you love. 97.1 The Ticket.
Welcome back to the show, 919. If you're just joining, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. That's where you'll find us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Always live in the studio at 248-539-9797. It's great when you have real estate attorneys in the office to sort of tidy up everything. And gentlemen, we were talking at the break that, there's been a lot of things going on with like some rents with option to own and land contract. And those are contracts. You have to have an attorney involved at the beginning so that you don't need to spend a whole lot of money with an attorney at the end.
Definitely. And, it really matters which side of the transaction you're on, right? A lot of these clauses are slanted one way or another, pro-buyer, pro-seller. If you're getting into a lease with an option, a land contract to purchase a home, some other type of transaction, you definitely need to consult an attorney. We like to get in early, understand the transaction before we start drafting anything. Too often, someone comes to us with a signed agreement saying, now what do I do, right? And that's a problem a lot of times.
It's already signed.
Already signed.
You fulfill the contract. You already signed it. What do you mean?
And then we're trying to clean up a mess instead of proactively
That's
getting
unfortunate.
You guys also have partnership in a title company, and title insurance is very important, especially nowadays. There's been a lot of flipping of homes. Recently, there's some foreclosures and situations with home where you're not even necessarily sure who's the owner of the house, what bills were paid, outstanding water bills and liens that need to be cleared up. That's where you guys come into play. And I know, Ollie, this is sort of your expertise, is getting with these people right at the beginning of a transaction. If you're looking to buy something or enter into any of these type of transactions, they need to give you guys a call.
Absolutely. As Johnny was saying, and a cost analysis, it's nominal, our fee, to review a land contract, rather than when they come to us and say, I have this land contract, they're not performing, now what? The cost of litigation is heavy, right, as opposed to contract review.
All right, there's so much to talk about here this morning. Of course, home purchases have been just flourishing all over Southeast Michigan for the last, we're going to say the last 10 years. It sure feels like since 2007, as we went through those really tough times, then people started buying the houses in 8 and 9 and 10, and now our families in Southeast Michigan have a ton of equity built into them. Harry, our cash-out refinances have been picking up. We see so many families taking advantage. Even though they have a great interest rate, they'll take a little bit higher interest rate if that's the case in today's marketplace, and they're able to consolidate debt.
Here, I got to get this out of the way. Yeah, I have to get this out of the way right now. All right, we said it last year. We said it the year before. I don't know what you were waiting for. Okay, rates are going up. We said they're not going down to zero. Up. They've gone up. But relatively speaking, so here, point number one, they're going up and they're going to continue to go up. Anybody who tells you they're going down, you've got to run away from that person. That's number one. Number two, they are still very, very low. If you take a look at it, if you can get a rate mid-4s, high-4s, even low-5s, big deal. Okay? Historically, if you take a look at the rates from 50 years ago, they're at the same rate they were in the mid to late 60s. So if you're nickel and diamond on an eighth here or there, you're going to lose the other way. It's like when you want to go hire an attorney. If you think you should hire them before the transaction, that's when you hire them, because you don't want to hire you guys after, because it costs way more, and then you have to undo what's already been done. You'd rather start from the beginning. With us, lock it in right away. Okay,
well, when you see
lock it in right away in an interest rate rising environment. John Kolb's looking at me. Go, brother.
He wants to say something. He's got his hand raised now.
I got to move this mic around.
Not going down. They're not going down.
No, I mean, if you are contemplating buying a house and the decision is between my rate was at 3.5 and now 4.5, then you shouldn't have bought a house in the first place. You're too thin. So you need to make sure that you're comfortable with your payment regardless.
No one's ever called me too thin.
No.
No, but they've called me.
I don't even know how to respond. But no, if you're
a weight reference.
if you're worried about that, then you shouldn't be buying a house regardless. You know, we can always bring you back and refinance you when rates come back down, if they come back down. Yeah. I mean, Harvey and I, Alex, we've all been doing this 20 plus years, right? And more times than not, our clients are coming back because they've had a good experience, and they want to make sure that they get the best deal out there, and we give them the best advice.
So Harvey mentioned a cash-out refi. Cash out to take equity out to pay off toxic debt, other credit card debt, 18% interest rate. Yes, if you borrow at 4.5, 5, it's way better than on your credit card at 18%. So we've got that out of the way. If you're just doing it to go out on that trip or buy the boat, I mean, that's not
That's
real.
just
You shouldn't use your house as a cash register, okay? That's what gets people in trouble. You could use it, you could be smart about it. And by the way, I always recommend, unless you're going to move in a year or two, taking a fixed rate mortgage. I mean, people don't understand, and this is where my attorney buddies come in. They don't understand the ramifications in taking an adjustable rate mortgage and planning for the long term. Yes, you got lucky over the last 10 years, but rates are going up. So if you go on a 1-year ARM right now, next year the rate's going to go up because the rates are going to be higher next year than they are today.
I have a client now.
Go on the fixed rate.
That I'm begging to take a 30-year fixed, and he's sold on like a 7-year ARM. I'm like, dude, you're saving $40 a month. What are you doing, man?
Maybe a 0.5%.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like the days of getting a 30-year fixed at 6 and a 5-year ARM at 3.5.
Remember those days?
Yeah,
there used to be a huge
gone.
spread. Yeah, for everybody out there, when rates were at 7-8%, you could pick up an adjustable rate mortgage in the 4s. So the spread was a lot different than it is now. So we advocate for fixed rates. And John, you've been doing this a long time. We always try to counsel and advise, even though we're not attorneys, our clients on the way to do things right to set them up for success in the future. So you want to ask a question about?
So what we were talking about at the break was most of my calls for buyers are coming through. Okay, I've got this contract put in front of me. What are my outs? Not that I necessarily want an out, but what are my outs in case something pops up on the purchase process? So, for example, there's a boilerplate, like Alex had brought up at the beginning of the show. There's a boilerplate contract that's put in front of them, and they're just with the numbers inserted into the spots, and they're supposed to sign it. But where are their outs, and when can they get the deposit back legitimately if they need to?
Attorneys?
Yeah, that's where you want to
counsel.
That's where you want an attorney to review the contract. Yeah. These boilerplate contracts, even though they're used often, they don't necessarily have the things that you would want or need in there. For the example that John just brought up, you're going to want to see some contingencies in there as a buyer. Yeah. You're putting up a significant amount of money as an earnest money deposit, and you want to know how you can get that back. You don't know that you can be approved for financing. You don't know that the title is going to be good. You don't know that the inspection is going to go well. Right. You want that contract to account for that when it doesn't go well and give you that money back.
And most of the purchase agreements do have some of that general language in there, but if they don't, there's always a section for additional comments and additional conditions, and you can write those in and review with them, review with your real estate agent, review with your attorneys, and make sure that you understand what you're signing. Again, usually a transaction is going to close within 30 days, so there's a lot of things going on from the day you sign to the day you close. Boy, they got title insurance reviews. We've got to pick up homeowners insurance. The appraisal's done. The inspection's done. And that music says that we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some strategies to make sure that you're protected when you purchase a house. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke for Capital Mortgage Funding. We do loans everywhere. In Southfield, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak, in Groseal, in Detroit, in Canton, in Northville. No matter where you live, we want to do your mortgage too. That's Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
All right, welcome back to the show, 9:33. If you're just joining us, a pretty day outside, and a happy St. Patty's Day to everyone. A little March Madness in there. Of course, we're going to have sports here on 97.1 The Ticket all day long. Keep it here for all your basketball updates and what's going on. Little rumor last night that number 1 seed got knocked off by a 16th. They'll be talking about that all day. So
there's a few busted brackets right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting stuff.
My ex-wife went there, so I really don't care if they lost.
It's a lot of fun. Hey, a few tips definitely out there for buyers. You're putting together your team, your professional real estate agent, your lender. And again, you get a lot of referrals when you're working with, whether it's your mortgage person might want to refer you to his team, or your real estate agent might want to refer you to his team. But again, understand that you have choices out there, and you can find out the different ways that people go about their business. And I've met several real estate agents that are extremely successful, and they do things just a little bit differently, and it works. And at the end of the day, you just have to have your needs met. It's so much fun to buy a house. I I think some of the times we see a lot of that. And Ryan, if you want to mention that, sometimes it seems like the fun is out of the picture. And I think it should be fun. I mean, you're spending 6 digits or more. And again, you're going to put a roof over your head for your family to enjoy. You should enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's really important that one of these biggest decisions in your life can go well. We've all heard horror stories about how home buying and home selling can go awry, but I think all in all, it's
if you have the wrong people,
yeah, I think it can be a really rewarding experience, and I think a lot of people are, it means a lot to them. You talk to a lot.
You're
of
making
people.
a big lifetime decision here. I don't get how anybody would work with somebody that they did not want to, that they didn't click with at that point. This is something that should be fun. It should always be fun to look into real estate, look into, investing your money in the right smart way, or just like setting up yourself or your family for the long haul here.
Yeah.
So
I think stability is one of those things. I think, equity, appreciation, the tax benefits, you can deduct your mortgage interest, you can deduct your property taxes, and some of the costs associated with a home. So there's definitely a financially savvy side owning your first home, leveraging that asset in later years, and, you can really build wealth with homes.
Yeah, there's
All day, every day. This is 97.1 The Ticket.
Brought to you by Bill Brown Ford. Michigan basketball tonight, trying to get to the Final Four. They do it with a win over Florida State. Michigan about a 5-point favorite in that one. If you get into the Staples Center just shy of 9 p.m. tonight, you can hear it on AM 950 WWJ. Seminoles upsets 3 straight higher-seeded opponents on the way to the brink of their school's first Final Four since 1972. Meanwhile, East and Midwest regional finals are set. Top seed Villanova will take on Texas Tech in the East. Kansas faces Duke in a 1-2 matchup in Omaha. Kansas beat Clemson 80-76. It was Duke over Syracuse 69-65. Villanova 90-78 over West Virginia. And Texas Tech takes out Purdue 78-65. Pistons basketball tonight, and the Bulls take on each other at the LCA tonight at 7. Hear that one on 104.3 FM. Red Wings at Toronto tonight, 7 p.m. right here on 97.1 The Ticket. Tiger baseball here on The Ticket at 105. Tigers take on the Phillies. Celtics say all-star point guard Kyrie Irving will have surgery on his left knee. He'll be out indefinitely. Also, Steph Curry of the Warriors just back from injury. Strange his left knee last night. He'll have an MRI today. At the Ticket Update Desk, I'm Jeff Lesson. For more, 97.1theticket.com.
The Tigers, Red Wings, and Pistons all play here. 97.1 The Ticket.
Welcome back to the show, 9:33. What a pretty day outside. If you're going to be purchasing a house, you need to get that approval letter. Be sure to call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's where you get a strong approval letter and move forward with that purchase. Also, we have open lines all morning long, 248-539-9797. We definitely want to hear from you.
And Harvey, I'm pretty excited. We have those open lines. This is everybody's chance to talk to attorneys, plural, for free.
For free, right?
They don't do anything for free. So that's why I'm all jacked up, because everybody out there, call in now. Ask your legal questions, real estate questions now to these guys, you're going to get free advice. It's insane. You guys aren't calling. Are you kidding? These guys are like $1,000 an hour.
Not quite that much.
It's unbelievable. They're that good.
I talk to a lot of attorneys.
We will, maybe there are more. Hey, we'll go out to our first call this morning, though. Hey, Cam, welcome to our show. You're live on the ticket. Go ahead.
How you doing, guys?
Good. What's up, man?
Good.
Hey, quick question regarding land contracts. If a owner has a mortgage on a house, can that person still sell the home as a land contract?
Well, they certainly can, but there's implications to that, bad ones, especially for the buyer. There's many times in mortgages, and it's pretty standard, I'm sure Harvey can tell us about this, there's a due on sale clause. And what that means is the mortgage, your lender, will accelerate the contract once you sell that property. So any balance remaining on your note is going to become due in full as soon as you sell it. Now this, you can imagine mortgages can have quite a high value when compared to your house, and that could potentially not be payable by either you or the seller. So it can, but it's not necessarily something you want to do. There's one instance where if what you're putting up front on this land contract is enough to cover that mortgage, and the land contract accounts for that mortgage, and it's going to cover that mortgage, that'd be an instance where maybe you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the deal on that. Let me give it to you. Now, that was attorney speak. Now, here's layperson speak. You sign a land contract with a guy, and you're buying the house on land contract. That guy has an underlying mortgage. What happens if he doesn't make the mortgage payment?
Exactly.
Okay, so he doesn't make the mortgage payment, the loan goes into default, and then they're throwing you out. How's that, guys? How'd I do?
And Cam, I've seen that exact scenario just on a commercial building recently, where my guy entered a land contract to purchase the building. There was a loan on the property, and the alleged land contract vendor, this purchaser who was selling, wasn't making the mortgage payment. So they got stuck.
But we've all seen performing land contracts as well. I mean, the mortgage is only going to
terrible thing.
Right. It's not the worst thing in the world. The mortgage is only going to be called due if that land contract holder records it. So you can also have an unrecorded land contract. This is, I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on the radio, and I've got one in my ear about to bite my head off right now.
Yeah.
But but I mean, we've seen it plenty of times. So you got to make sure you're getting in, and you know who you're getting into bed with.
There are risks involved.
Yes.
It's a very risky proposition.
Yes.
I'll tell you that.
And the idea of recording a land contract it's a good idea. At least recording the memorandum of land contract, because should you not do that, say they sell it to you on land contract, that seller could potentially go and take a mortgage after they sell it to you on land contract. And the mortgage company's not going to know about the land contract unless it's recorded.
Well, the issue, too, on a land contract is that, you become the bank. The owner of that property becomes the bank. So it's not just like evicting someone that takes 45 days.
Right.
I mean, they have to go through a full foreclosure process.
Right, so I hope we muddied those waters up for Cam.
They're talking.
I hope that was...
All in all, it just sounds like a bad idea there.
So
Cam's not more confused than he was before when he called
so
5 minutes ago.
At least he's cautious now.
So Cam, that you've got to find out. What I would do is, I don't know what your relationship with that seller is, but you might want to find out, what do you owe on the house? What happens if you don't make that mortgage payment? And here, I'm not going to say this is going to happen, but these gentlemen have seen this, and we've seen this plenty of times. People enter into land contracts, and they take the money, they don't make the mortgage payment. I think that there are risks involved in that. I would have somebody on your team make sure that dot some I's and cross some T's.
Do I have any recourse if the person does stop paying the mortgage? And for instance, I gave them a large lump sum in the beginning of the land contract, and now that person was foreclosed on. Do I have any recourse against that person to get my money back?
Counsel?
Potentially against that person, but not against the bank for the land. You're going to lose the land. You could potentially bring an action against that person, but who knows if they're recoverable? And they're certainly not going to be able to convey a piece of property to you that they no longer own.
And not to play pessimist, but if someone is in an upside down financial shape and getting foreclosed on by their mortgage company, they're probably not collectible for a judgment against.
And they took a giant lump sum for you up front to finance whatever they're doing in real life.
Exactly.
So the good thing about a land contract is that if they've been paying on it for 12 months, we can do it as a refinance regardless of the pay history for the land contract holder. So that loan could be in default. He could go back and say, hey, I've got 12 months of payments, refinance it. We could use current value, pay that off plus the penalties, and he still saves the property. ifs, ands, buts. Everything's
Right,
out
right.
there, right, Cam? But be careful.
Right.
And there are good land contracts out there that you can take advantage of.
It's a great point, because here's the thing: all we remember are the bad situations. There could be 1,000 good ones,
but we have to set up
two bad
people,
ones.
But our job
is to manage the downside risk.
Yeah, I have to manage downside, and we have to set up people for success.
That's our job too.
Cam, it's a great
we
call.
have to protect.
Cam, we'll call after the show and try to make this a little more clear for you, since there's a lot of action.
I think it's a great call.
You guys are crystal clear. I appreciate all that sound advice, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for calling.
All righty. Hey, we have open lines, 248-539-9797. Again, I like when the conversation starts talking about land contracts and stuff. Again, these are for folks that if you can't get a mortgage, maybe there's an alternative. Maybe you need to rent for an extra year. Maybe just renting that house and then seeing where you're at with that landlord a year later. Maybe he wants to offer you up the house down the road. 248-539-9797. We want to hear from you. Let's move off to Sergio in Canton. Good morning, Sergio. You're live on the ticket.
Morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Hey, guys, just real quick, touching back to maybe 2-3 points ago, we were talking about fixed rates versus ARMs. And when I was coming out of college in 2003, 2004, I wound up working for a very large nationwide lender that's not around anymore, and rightfully so. But in any case, at that time, and then even going into 2007, 2008, everybody was scared of ARMs, right? And I'm not necessarily for or against them, but, I mean, we sort of foresaw something crazy coming, and obviously we had a crash, right? Now, natural cyclical economies, we're going to have a downturn. I mean, we can all agree probably that we're at a crest right now, right? We're at the top, and who knows how much longer it's going to go for. So if we have a downturn, couldn't rates potentially come down if things get really bad? I know we're not going to jump off a cliff again like last time, but
Right. So when you say a downturn, you mean purchases, transactions are going to slow down, and you mean property values are going to come down a little bit. Are you talking about in the real estate market?
Yeah.
Or when you talk about a downturn, you're talking about a out and out depression like we had for 10 years. I mean, what are you talking about?
Recession. Yeah, I mean, it works hand in hand, doesn't it? I mean, not a depression.
No.
Like I said, we're not going to have a crash. I mean, the 30-day of mortgage is gone, right, back in the day.
Right. But,
no
okay.
more, a lot of that subprime. But, at the same time, with the economy,
Yeah, I think where you're going with this is, and I'd like to say this to you, that we believe that right now fixed rates are going to continue to go up regardless. There has to be a slowdown in the market because we are now in the 7th year of a crazy seller's side cycle. Okay, sellers are getting optimal prices for what they're getting, premium prices. You've heard on this show, if you've listened to this show a lot, we think that you use the word crest. Some people on the show like to use the term bubble. And we say, how high can these prices go? So I don't disagree with that part, but I do believe that the economy is getting better. The jobs market is strong. People are spending money. So therefore, there is no incentive for the Fed to lower rates. As a matter of fact, the Fed funds raised it 1/4 point this past week, and they're thinking about doing it another 3 times this year. So potentially, I like to live in the real world, and I'm not predicting. And I it's a hedge. Okay, so if I forecast, and I don't like using that word, but if we project that rates are going to go up and they do come down, everybody wins.
Right.
Everybody wins. But to answer your question, I think they're going up. I don't think you should take an adjustable rate. There are risks if you're going to be in a property for a very short period of time, and you absolutely know that you're going to get out. Then the answer to that question still for me is maybe. So, back in the day, there was a spread, but you can't predict that.
It was a much larger spread than this.
I like to be safe. I like to advise my clients in a safe position to where they're going to be successful. That's all.
Sergio, it's a great call. We appreciate it this morning. Really good stuff.
Hey, and just
Sergio,
because rates are just because values aren't going to go up doesn't mean they're going to automatically plunge. They could plateau, right? And if they stay stagnant, that still means that rates could climb because values are good, rates are still. So rates are going to go up. If values are going up, rates are going to go up if we plateau.
Stability in the economy is never a bad thing.
Here, I agree with you 100%. Here's the thing, and I'll be 100% honest. I took a 7-year when I bought my house because I'm going to be out of there. I'm going to move again down the road. Dude, I just put on a ridiculous patio, redid the basement. I'm not going anywhere, and unfortunately, my rates it's going to go up.
Well,
I mean, and that's Shame on myself. I should have taken a 30-year fix.
Well,
I should have done a 15-year fix when the rates were great over the last 2 years. But
yeah,
a good play for you. That's okay either way.
House is paid for.
All right, it's 9:43. If you're just tuning in, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We're up against a quick break here. When we come back, it's going to be all your calls. 248-539-9797.
There you go. How good is that?
97.1 The Ticket.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Danberg for Capital Mortgage Funding. We do loans everywhere. In Southfield, in Birmingham, in Royal Oak, in Groseal, in Detroit, in Canton, in Northville. No matter where you live, we want to do your mortgage too. That's Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
All right, welcome back to the show, 9:48. Now we're coming up on our last segment here. If you want to talk mortgages and real estate, we have open lines. 248-539-9797. Always a Capital Mortgage Funding, a 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's 1-800-569-7283. Always here to help you get a house. Again, we're going to have sports here all day on 97.1 The Ticket. First, a little bit of handling your business at home and making sure you're doing the right thing. We've spoken all morning about some great opportunities out there, but really the vibe has been in Southeast Michigan since about 2008 or 9 that the values have just tremendously gone up. We have a lack of great housing around here. The builders are starting to catch up with it. But again, even the stats out there, HUD came out last week with their stats for February. I mean, the housing starts were a little bit off. The weather across the country was a little bit rougher, so that might have played a little bit of a role in it. But we do see a lot of permits definitely starting to heat up around here.
Dude, so 6 years ago, I played golf in a short sleeve shirt. It was like 75 degrees.
Oh, on this day a few years ago. Yeah,
get that. Today's St. Patrick's Day, and I remember St. Patrick's Days in the past where, I mean, it was 75 degrees
Remember at
outside.
Michigan State, you could walk around like in shorts and a T-shirt. It was awesome.
I mean, we could still do that even if it was 20
You drink enough, you can do that today too, Alex.
Shut up, Brian.
Hey, Brian, I'm glad you're going to join in with this conversation.
Thanks for chiming in for that, buddy.
Hey, Brian, one of the things about reverse mortgages, I know it's a scary thing out there for so many families, and the reverse mortgages from way back in the day are totally different than they are today. They've gone in, they revamped the program, and they make it work for families. And I think one of the things that people think is that once you have this, that you can't sell the house. But you can. You can sell the house after your loved ones maybe go to a nursing home.
It's a regular mortgage. Basically, what you're doing is you're building in equity when you have the product, and then as you age, you are losing a portion of your equity. But it's built in. The longer you live and the longer you stay in the house, it's a non-recourse loan. So I hear it all the time when somebody says, "Well, what happens if I'm underwater?" I go, "Well, then you won. You lived long enough. You lived 20, 25 years based on the actuary tables. You outlived what they thought you were going to. You won the battle. You got to live in that house for an extra
so your heirs wouldn't get any equity.
Well,
that's what happened.
That's true, but I mean, in terms of that, it also means that if you're not pulling money out of your investments or pulling money out to pay a housing fee, there's a bigger pot for them to split there.
Right.
So
with the cost of nursing home, Brian, it's a great point. I'm going to go back and forth with you on this because, right, if your loved ones can't stay in their house, well, then you're looking for these nursing homes and all these type of retirement communities. These cost money. And at the end of the day, if you can keep your folks in the house, their lifestyle's better and easier for a lot of them. And sometimes it's less expensive. It's definitely less expensive having someone come in to help your folks or you doing that versus full care 100% of the time. Families just won't be able to handle that in the future.
I'd like to go to the Villages now. Actually.
Well, it's one of those. I'll sit at a kitchen table and I'll hear the argument by a son or a daughter.
Nobody bats 1,000 except 97.1 The Ticket. We have your chance to win $1,000 an hour every weekday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Be listening each hour at approximately half past the hour for the $1,000 keyword. Text that keyword to 72881 and you'll be entered to win $1,000 in this national contest. Message and data rates apply. Win $1,000 an hour on 97.1 The Ticket. Download the allnewradio.com app and listen to 97.1 The Ticket anytime, anywhere.
97.1 The Ticket.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's 9:48. I said it before. It is absolutely a gorgeous day out there. This is today where you get the approval letter from Capital Mortgage. Call 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's 1-800-569-7283. I know Sam's in the office with a whole host of professional mortgage people that will help you get through your situation. Again, if you haven't refinanced, still plenty of great opportunities out there. Although the rates continuously are moving up, there's great opportunities out there. And so many families can take advantage of the equity in their house, consolidate their debts, and move forward. Let's go out to our call here. And if you want to join the show, 248-539-9797. We've got Charlie in Clinton Township. Good morning, Charlie. Welcome to our show.
Oh, hi, guys. I got a situation that the attorneys might help me out with. I know that normally when we sell properties, I'm actually a realtor, we sell properties that, everybody has a place where they can fit into the project. And this is one where I've got a house in Fraser that we are getting ready to put on the market, and there's 8 siblings. The parents passed away. 2 of them are in total disagreement of selling the house or doing anything, and 6 want to sell the property. So in that situation, of course, they're going to need an attorney. Maybe a gentleman there can give us a good view on what they would do in that situation.
Well, the first thing we'd have to know is how did it pass to them? Was it through a will? Was it intestate? Because we don't know how they hold title at this point. It's not necessarily all of them. It's not necessarily in equal parts.
So we have to see who's on title.
Right. The way I believe is that there is a one party that's in charge, and it's supposed to go evenly to all the siblings. Whatever the amount is at the end that's left over.
Wouldn't the executor, the person that's in charge, be able to make that decision?
Only if it's in a trust.
Yeah. We don't do much.
Yeah, well,
probate work.
I don't think it is, and because the 2 are saying that they're going to get an attorney and they're going to fight, whatever it is that they want to fight. I think maybe that I don't even know what they're fighting. Sometimes people get in these arguments and they don't even know what they're fighting for.
Exactly.
Especially family. You know who's going to get paid on this deal, Charlie?
Yeah, attorneys.
All the attorneys.
So my suggestion is, again, I would tell you that you probably should all get in a room or get in a conference and really go over what everybody wants out of the transaction. If there are X amount of people that want to sell because you want the money, let's face it, let's call it the way we see it. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show. They want the money. And there are a couple parties that just want to keep it the way it is. You guys need to discuss it. If somebody wants to keep the property, then the party that wants to keep the property has to pay off those other parties to make them whole. So you guys got to figure out who wants to do what and what the time frame is. You got to get into a room. You got to try to settle it before you start throwing attorneys around.
Yeah,
how's that, guys?
Yeah, if they're in fact all on title, then that's right. I mean, they would all have a certain claim to that, which could be sold, transferred for a sum of money.
And in the will, if there's a will, they've got to follow the instructions in the will.
Right.
But if there's no trust, it has to go through probate, right? And then the court has to get involved to figure out who is entitled to sell it.
I think that's why they should discuss it first and go over all the options.
Hey, Charlie, got some other listings out there too, I hope, right?
Oh, yeah.
This one might be tied up for a little bit, but it definitely sounds like, if the person in charge of the estate or whatever it might be is willing to sell, it sounds like they'll probably end up selling the property. And who knows, like Alex said, maybe some attorneys get paid along the way, but they'll come to an agreement eventually.
Yeah, but try to come to a resolution first. If you can't, then if it has to get adversarial, then it's a long, drawn-out process.
Yeah, it gets
Gotcha.
Thanks for the call, Charlie. It's good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie.
Hey, I wanted to throw out there's so many mortgage programs out there, and Capital Mortgage Funding has all of those just for you. That's right. If you want to go zero down, the Rural Development Loan, USDA loans are fantastic. They're not in every area, but definitely all sorts of areas around Southeast Michigan. If you're in our listening audience, you definitely probably qualify for a USDA loan. Also, 0 down for all our veterans out there. You've already served the country. Now take advantage of the VA eligibility that you might have. We'll give you full details and explain how that works. And of course, so many great programs, conventional mortgages with 3% down, FHA loans at 3.5% down, and all of your jumbo products. Be sure to call Capital Mortgage Fund. You're going to save a ton of money and deal with real professionals.
So Ali Hussan, Johnny Hamoud, I'm living in an apartment. I want to buy a house, but I signed a lease. I want to break my lease, and I just want to leave. Is that ever a good idea?
He's not really living in an apartment. Just
posing the question, potentially.
Thank you, yeah.
It's not...
So I want to bust my... I'm like out. I'm tired of living in this apartment, but you know what? I've got 7 more months on my lease. And I found this cool house, and I've got enough money, and I just want out. What do I have to do?
Well, the first thing is you have to understand you're bound by the terms of the lease agreement with the landlord, right? After that, the landlord has duties too. If he has breached or failed to live up to his part of the bargain, there may be a way to negotiate yourself out of that. But the short answer is you're on the hook for the balance of that lease.
That's right, because I signed that contract. Did I sign that lease? Said I'm going to fulfill it from this date to this date.
You signed that lease. You're liable for the monthly payments.
Yeah, but I want out. Then I got to write a check.
You got to write the check.
You're probably going to have to negotiate out with a check.
Right. So everybody driving around, everybody listening to that, you just can't leave. You just can't, in terms, you can't just peace out and leave. You can't. You have to fulfill it. But what do you guys think about me getting with my landlord and trying to negotiate something? Say, hey, listen, I've been a great renter for you. I always took care of your property, took care of this. Why don't we come to some kind of agreement?
Why am I taking that hit though? As a landlord,
right? Well, you might not be.
He might actually have a renter out there that's offering more.
Yeah, if somebody else, if you got someone, if you say, listen, man, can I get out my lease and I'll bring my, my buddy Jim wants to.
So maybe I can offer, if I've got 7 months left, maybe I can offer him 2 or 3 months and say, hey, now you can go rent the property.
Yeah, you keep my security deposit, whatever. Right. We can settle up on the balance.
Even they might want to sell the property at this point. There's lots of opportunities out there. We were going to go to caller Steve, but I think we're going to be up against the end of the show here for a little bit.
Let's see what we got. Go with it.
Hey, caller Steve, real quick with your question. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I had a first and second mortgage. I ended up settling my second mortgage about a year ago, and I was trying to figure out what my options were to refinance because now I found out that's considered like a foreclosure. Yeah, my loan to value is under 50%. I got good credit, but I just trying to figure out what my options are to what I can do to refinance the house because I want to lock it in. I had a variable rate right now, and I'm just trying to look into. Locking in a stable interest rate, 15-year loan.
Yep. Steve, every situation is going to be different. We really got to take a look at the credit, take a look at the settlement, see how everything looks, and then we can advise you that way. I've done a number of these. Sometimes you got to wait the 3-4 years. Sometimes you can do it right away. It all depends on how everything is reporting, whether they've already released you from title as well, because there's red flags, and we just got to make sure that we don't come up against them.
Steve, at a 50% loan to value, why'd you have to settle a second mortgage?
Well, I was out there for like 3 or 4 years, and I couldn't get anywhere with these guys, and finally got an attorney involved, and I gave them an unbelievable settlement number. They took it, and I put it behind.
And
me
why not?
at the time.
But you borrowed the money. Why'd you have to settle it?
We'll call him after the show. We'll get into that with him.
Steve, great question. We'll get definitely some calls out to you and see what we can make you offers. It's been a fast show as always. Whenever we got great guys on here.
These guys are great.
Definitely want to thank Ali Kusan for coming in and Johnny Hamoud. Hey,
Thanks
man,
for having us,
we
guys.
appreciate you guys. Definitely have real estate attorneys back.
We got to talk more about title next time they're on.
Be sure to call Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll set you guys up with these great real estate attorneys and a whole lot more professionals in the industry. Again, for everyone here in our studio, we got a full pack. We got John Cole, for Alex Lucy, Harry Glantz. I'm Harvey Free. We'll catch you next Saturday.